Hi guys, my name is Peter Lance, and I am a technical game artist in training. Um, if you'd like to view my work and maybe hire me, hint hint, you can find my website at peterlance3d.wordpress.com. I have 3D art as well as 2D art, mainly focusing on design. I love to design stuff for games, and today I'll be sharing my love for that with you and how to design an object for a game. Our final product is going to look like something like this. And when I first started the tutorial, this wasn't in my head. This will be designed right in front of you, using a process where first we make silhouettes, then we make some thumbnails, then we pick out some colors, and then we make a final image that looks pretty. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get started. Alright, so the first step when designing anything for a game, at least in my version of the design process, is to collect reference images. So normally I feel like people use Google Images because that's like obviously a good place to get image material. The only problem is you'll often get like results that you don't care about, like clip art for instance. A good way to solve this is to actually use a website called Pinterest, which seems like kind of a girly place to go to. But in reality, Pinterest has much more than like dresses, like pictures of dresses or like girly things. It has like guyly things. And if you're designing something girly, you're in the right place. So, um, it's pretty much Google Images, but better. It's filtered by a community. It's a very useful tool. It's a really good place to get reference material. Essentially what I'll be doing is grabbing images of real life battle axes in order to see how they work in the real world. Maybe some game versions of them just to see how artists execute battle axes in games. And then maybe some random reference material like animals with like maybe a sharp body part, maybe some ice formations, whatever, in order to get some fresh ideas. I tend to like using material that isn't from the game as reference material for the purpose of making something that's more original rather than something that's already out there. That's just sort of why I'm going through this process. Images from games that exist, that's more for execution. And it can be a place for ideas. This is just my version of the design process. So yeah, let's start finding images.
Something I'd like to throw out there is, we tend to think that in games that's like where all the cool weapons are at, that they're usually like super dramatic. You wouldn't find them in the real world. Well, actually in the real world there's some pretty crazy stuff. Like this axe with elephants on it. That's a legit ancient axe. You'll never know what you'll find when finding reference material. The real world actually has like a lot of cool stuff out there. It's not just in games, and in fact games draw from the real world. Like look at this, there's like a sculpture on this axe. What? There's all kinds of cool stuff out there, like so much inspiration. So I just want to throw that out there.
Alright, so you can see I just like placed a bunch of reference material on my desktop in kind of an orderly fashion. So I have like all the realistic axes up here and a bunch of like random ice reference material down here just for the heck of it. Maybe I'll get some cool ideas. I could have used like anything from nature. to inspire the axe I'm about to make. But ice, since it's all jaggedy, maybe that will translate into a cool blade. Um, I don't think I'm the first person to really try and make something inspired off of ice in a weapon, but that's okay. The next step is something most people wouldn't think of, but it's something my professor taught me, which is instead of doing this thing where you look through like each individual image while you're designing something to get some cool ideas, um, instead of doing that, why not just place all the images in one picture and then like simply just look at that picture as a whole to get your ideas all at once. We're using a full-blown image editor. Alright, I'm gonna make this like a huge document on purpose. These are high definition images usually, so and I might want to like see all that cool detail, so I want a big document. It looks like they're not too big. Um, by the way, for this tutorial we're using Krita. I could use Photoshop, but I don't own it, so I'd rather use something free. And Krita actually is a very good program for digital painting, so it's not necessarily a downside. Now, you'll notice I made the layout to view all my axe images on. The reason why I do this is usually like I have one window over here where I'm like painting stuff, and then one window over here where I'm viewing my reference images. If you have a vertical layout, it's much easier to kind of fit the reference images on this window pane. So, in case you're wondering, you probably weren't, but if you were, that's why. Alright, so now I can kind of like look at all my reference images all at once for ice, and look at all my reference images for axes all at once. So that's why you composite your reference images into one image. Alright, for the next step for designing our axe, we're going to create things known as thumbnails, which are basically like a shadow of what you want your final product to be. They're like thumbnails, like a whole bunch of drawings of the same thing, and each of them look a little different, except it's just like a black image, a black and white image. And the reason behind silhouettes is to create like a very easily pleasing, recognizable shape for your object. Silhouettes are the first thing people look at when they look at anything in a game, really. When you look at someone, the first thing you look at is their silhouette, probably. Maybe their face if it's someone you know. But if they're like wearing a cloak or something, you're gonna look at their silhouette. Or if they're wearing some kind of unusual attire. In a game, everyone wears unusual attire, so you look at the silhouette. Alright, and you'll kind of see what that looks like when making an axe. So, let's get started. So, first thing I want to do is bring up my reference images. Let me get this out of the way. I want these two guys. These are the reference sheets we made earlier. Okay. Then, let's kind of give myself some more screen real estate space. There we go. So this is what real axes look like. Here's some cool ice formations that might give us some cool blade designs. Alright, I'm gonna give myself a nice, crisp, hard brush. Actually, this one's kind of nice. Makes me feel more free. Let's use that. Okay. So the trick behind doing any sort of thumbnail is frill is just not to get attached to your drawing, I guess. So, and when it comes to silhouettes, a very more specific trick is to kind of go crazy. It is a TIE fighter. My friend just said this looked like a TIE fighter. Alright. They may not work right away. Like, I think I could probably improve the top of this axe more. It has an awkward shape going on at the top, but it's okay. You're in the idea phase. This is the time to mess up your design. Okay. So that's like a subpar design, right? But we're gonna keep at it. Let's see. I'm kind of feeling something more with layers right now. This is kind of looking cool, huh? It's like, I don't know what this is, but it looks cool. Just gotta give it a curved like handle. Sure, whatever. It has a valve on it. I don't know. If you kind of feel yourself coming up with like completely off the wall ideas, and you're having a hard time like sticking with one idea, it's usually good to like set some parameters for yourself, like what kind of weapon or what kind of barrel you want. um, for me, I think the only parameter I have is to have fun and to make it like something that just looks kind of badass. Because this is a tutorial and I do what I want. Alright, so here's kind of a random trick I use when I want to like generate silhouettes really fast. I'm using what's the equivalent in Photoshop as the clone stamp tool. So check this out. I can just be like, I just doodle an X here, doodle another X here, doodle another X here. I'm not sure if it works the same in Photoshop as it does in Krita, but it's basically a copy and paste. I'm using it as a copy and paste tool. So that's just a random efficiency trick. Now I'm just gonna like see if I can do anything wacky with each one of these axes. That's kind of the idea. So oh, so when doing like silhouettes like this, where you're concentrating on just like the overall shape of your object, you end up like with these really cool ideas they didn't really expect to like come out of your head, I guess. Um, so like here I start with like a bunch of like circles, surrounding circles. I ended up like with a really cool techno looking like axe thing. Looks like it could kick butt.
I'm digging that.
So it looks like I found a idea I'm kind of liking here. Um, me and my friend were looking at this design here. We are thinking, hey, would it be cool if these pieces of the axe were floating? So I made a few duplicates. I'm just gonna start playing with this a bit more. See what else we can etch out of this design. Alright, so I think I came up with some good silhouettes here. I think the ones I'm most happy with are probably this random like horse sword. I think I like this one because it looks kind of balanced. My friend really likes this one, so. And this one. And this one because it looks so cool. So anyway, so that's silhouettes, and you can kind of see like it's really hard to come up with ideas like this or like this if you do thumbnails. It's much easier where you're just concentrating on shape. Alright, for our next step, we are going to create what are known as thumbnails off of our favorite silhouettes. What thumbnails are basically repeated drawings of the same object over and over again to help design an object. We already made a kind of thumbnail which are known as silhouettes, but the thumbnails we'll be doing will be more like line drawings. So let's go ahead and start. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to delete the random silhouettes that I'm not going to use. So I think if I remember correctly, we liked this one. Honestly, I could go for either one of these axes. I'll try a few of this one. This one's cool. Hmm, that one's not bad. And this floaty one's cool too, so got those. Get invert my selection. Delete the ones I'm not using. I kept them on a separate layer, kind of for documentation purposes, in case I want to show off in my portfolio how I designed this axe. So I try and keep every step of my process when making art, except for when I'm iterating through a model, because I don't feel the need to show people something in the process of being modeled as much. So, but maybe you do. So, it's a personal preference. Okay, so I got my silhouettes narrowed down. I got them all organized. What I can start doing now is just drawing on top of them. So I'm going to turn down their opacity. And I'm going to take a red pen. Well, quote unquote pen, because this is a computer program. And just kind of draw on top of them. Let's see, on a separate layer, of course. So first I'm just going to get the outline down. And this is probably a step that takes a little bit more skill. So if your drawing skills aren't up there yet, you know, it's still not a bad thing to do, because free practice, right? Fortunately, I had a lot of art classes growing up, so I didn't have too much of a learning curve for drawing. Still going through one, actually, when it comes to anatomy. I had to practice like crazy last year to get a character down for my game. I know it's not going to look like that. It has like a thing overlapping here. I think that was like a ring or something. Let's make it a ring. Now notice I'm not following the silhouette exactly. You don't have to. The silhouette was there to plan out the general shape, not to be stuck to like some kind of rule. Now if you don't use it at all in your thumbnails, that can either be a good thing or a bad thing. A good thing in that maybe you found a better way of designing your object. A bad thing in that you're not really using your work, I guess. It's all situational. Just like this whole design process, really. I heard about the guy who designed the Zerg for StarCraft. I think the way he did it was he like started from the eye of the eye of the Zergs and then on out. He didn't exactly like plan the overall shape or anything, as far as I heard. Just kind of did an inside out approach, is really interesting. So that's kind of an example how varied this can be. You might have a game where like all there are is silhouettes. And that's actually not very uncommon nowadays. Okay, so I got that guy. I think what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to time myself for like 5 minutes per drawing and just whip out a bunch of ideas based on this one llama axe. Or really any of these. 5 minutes per drawing. I'm going to do it. Alright. And that's really a method just to make sure I don't get too attached to one design. Is really the purpose behind me doing this. You might notice these look a little pixelated. That's okay. Unless you want to display your thumbnails in high definition, but in terms of arriving to a final drawing, it's okay because I'm going to draw over these again. They're rough. So that's why I'm not concerned. We'll be adding more intricate details once we get a few blocked out drawings. We'll even be making some design changes. Alright, so I got all the axe thumbnails done that I feel like I needed to. A lot of them look similar, but that's okay. I got all my random ideas out there to see if they worked or didn't work. Um, so yeah, next time we'll be going over how to pick out colors for the final axe design, so that involves going over value and color. Um, so be sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll be seeing you guys next time. Thank you so much for watching and supporting our channel.